Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I want to talk about preparing for Edania. So whether you're interested in the grind spots or you're interested in getting the Edania armor, one thing I wanted to talk about was pushing yourself that one extra step and some extra ways to get geared enough. Well, obviously gearing is just grinding, the usual, but there are some ways that, let's say you're a few AP, DP off of doing a boss, or you don't have full Tet armors yet, then I'm going to give you some tips on how to improve that. Also with the grind spots, we're going to talk about that as well, in terms of, let's say you are kind of close but not necessarily able to hit all of the caps or everything. Here are some grinding efficient tips that I can give you guys. All right, so what you guys need to know: once you are going into Edania, there are currently only 3 grind spots. I know this map looks kind of crazy, but basically you start here, and then the first grind spot is the Ethereum Castle, which is the entry level 351. Whether it's good or not is kind of debatable, but I mean, people want to try the new spots, that's cool. Followed by Nymphomare Castle, also the second boss, 370. And finally, the Orbita Castle, which is the one you probably have seen a lot of videos on, or a lot of streamers grinding here because it makes the most amount of silver. So, in about 2 weeks from now, there's going to be 2 more spots coming out. It's probably like 385, 390-ish AP. So super endgame stuff. But anyway, with that said, let's say people want to try out and get into Edania. What should you do? So, how would I optimize my crystals and everything? I just wanted to tell you that a few things exist that you might not know about. So first and foremost, I have grinded everything without this Jin crystal. Basically, this is the species damage crystal for the zone. I have done every spot. Obviously, you have to grind the spots before you get it. What all this does is allows you to play more defensively. So like before I had the Jin crystal, what I would do was basically the equivalent of like this thing. And some spots are safer than the others. The Orbita one requires, let's see, Orbita is knockdown resistance, and Ethereum Castle and Nymphomare are stun resist. So let's say you are not necessarily AP capped in a spot. What would I do? Ultimately, just more damage to classic crystal setup that I've talked about. This is what I would use. And then once you try the spots, what you really have to do is get stun resist or knockdown based on the spot you want to grind. So spot 1 and 2, Ethereum Castle, Nymphomare, you use stun resist. And if you were not capped, you take out the Alukas and then add more damage to it. And this one is just like a little overcap. But ideally, you just want stun resist. And then knockdown, I mean, kind of the same thing, but with knockdown resist. And then ultimately, your goal is to get the species damage one, which allows you to play a little bit safer and still meet the cap. So I replaced it a little bit for more HP because Orbita is kind of scary. But you can use the Alukas as well. But depending on where you want, ultimately, just crystals. All right, so other things you can do to help you prepare for Edania. So, as we all know, there's a new Harmony draft for Edania, and it gives plus 17, plus 13, the same thing essentially, but plus 17. It actually is really nice to have. A lot of people don't remember this existed, and they're probably just using a Harmony, but there's an Edania Harmony that gives plus 17 that's actually pretty helpful. And so it's definitely something worth checking out. All right, so another thing that I would recommend to you guys is obviously the species damage. I know people have been using all-out attack, target openings, vicious shadows based on all that stuff, but there's one thing that's still available, maybe not necessarily at this moment, but right now the species damage for Edanian damage is Firestone Twisted, and that's plus 5. And then it works the same way as the other species damage. So 3 Twisted and an Iridescent gives you 15 plus another 15 from the set effect. So that's plus 30. that's actually pretty good. So Lightstone combo is 30 alone, and then Harmony is another 17. And if you, for some reason, are still using the blue Edania Elixirs, what I would recommend is you still need to craft these to make the Edania Elixirs. That's why I have them. But let's see, where is it? Edania. Yeah, these things, turn them into the blue one. Essentially, it gives you 17. It's better to use the harmonies, but for some reason you guys are still using full blue elixir rotations, that is included in there as well. So yeah, aside from that, that's how you get the extra species damage, and that's what we have so far. So hopefully utilize those. And now I wanted to talk about, let's say you want to do the weekly bosses, and let's say you don't care about like being number one, you just want to get these weekly, and or you just want to push yourself to be able to do the first boss so you can get your armor and not necessarily the upgrades immediately. So here's what I would do. So if you look at your DP, I believe the first one is like 327 DP. This is going to be, for the most part, people's bottlenecks, because I understand in this game it's shifted from like getting all your gear to, you know, people who are like all AP. That's all that matters to people these days for some reason, but it is what it is. Different story. And so, yeah, chances are you're bottlenecked by DP. Here are some tips that I want to give to you guys. So let's say you are within 5 DP off to getting your, you know, being able to enter the boss realm. Yeah, so one thing, if you find a channel that gives the +1 DP buff, the blue boss, which is one of the blue ones over here, I understand it's hard to find a blue one just because once people can do Calamity 8 to 10, chances are that, you know, doing 7s and under, it's not really worth the investment. But yeah, if you could find a channel where someone is doing 7 and then getting the blue buff for 1 DP, that's always helpful. Also, another thing that people kind of probably forgot existed are these Khan's Hearts. So you know how most people have the Exalted Vel's Heart, which is 4 DP when you get the Blessed and Exalted Fragments. If you have the DP one, it gives 6 of them. It's kind of expensive right now because other people are kind of cheesing this one with the DP stone as well. In about a month from now, this is probably going to be irrelevant just because everyone is going to be, like all the end game players are going to have 445 and up to do Orbita or something like that, the highest one. But what you would do is go to this one. The best way to get it, and obviously the best way to get it without spending silver, is doing the Khan boss 3 times with your guild or merc into a guild, and you just have to do the quest or kill it 3 times. It doesn't matter what difficulty. Then you get to pick a Khan's Heart stone, and back in the day I would have told you these are worthless. I still think it is worthless, but the reason why you're getting it is there's a reason why the price went up, and it's because people are cheesing it for the extra 2 DP to get in. So yeah, so if you see this one, I have it myself, and yeah, +2 DP. If it gets you into the boss arena, that also works. If you can't buy it on your server, what I would recommend is the Perla Star. This one is I believe you get this from Fugar, like from your seasonal. Let me see if it's still there just to confirm it with you guys. Seasonal special gift reward. It should be, yeah, this thing right here from the autumn season. So basically it's kind of like a budget version, which means like it does the same thing effectively. You just have to upgrade it, but you just get 5 at the end, 5 DP instead of 6, but you save like 10 billion. So yeah, that's about it. That's one way to do it. So you just equip it, and then your sheet is 443 plus that one is 444, and then obviously after that is really just upgrades for your gear, the standard. We all know how to do that. And then yeah, so I believe there used to be the hunting clothes trick where it gives you +1 DP, but I think they removed that with the last patch. I've never done it, so yeah, that was the ways to choose yourself up to the next like tier to get in and do the bosses. But aside from that, it's really just upgrading your sovereign, which is probably the cheapest way, and then upgrading your armors, which obviously you need the DP to be able to do it, and then get the crystals to go in. But yeah, so with that said, those are some tips that I wanted to give to you guys, and hopefully they're helpful. Before we go, I wanted to give you a quick recap on the crystals I used and just like everything. So if you are, you know, just able to grind the spots, this is what I'd recommend. If you are not overcapped and you need all the DP or all the AP you can get to grind a spot, this is what I'd recommend. If you are like more or less overcapped, this is what I use, but with Edania, it does actually require a little bit of resistance. So like right here in all three spots, I'll tell you this one you need knockdown and bound, and these two are stun stiffness. That's why I have these tailored, so stun resist. This one, I think if you don't need these, you could just replace this for another void destruction and more, literally anything that gives you more AP. So that's always good. And then of course you're gonna have to upgrade your Han crystals or like Jins to Hans eventually. That's just a time consuming activity. It'll be whenever. And then of course knockdown. Don't worry about this one until you can actually grind Orbita, because this one, like, Orbita is the hardest grind spot in the game right now. Well, I say hardest, I mean like the most AP efficient cap. So yeah, that's what I would do. So you kind of want a mix of like defensives and also damage, and then your ultimate goal would be something that looks like this. I have seen people with more gear than I do still die at Orbita, and like, let me give you an example. So you see how right now I have 9,500 HP. This is not buffed or anything. With buffs, it goes around like 10.2, 10.4k. Another thing I could recommend, I don't know how worth it is, this Perfume of Charm. So the reason why you're using this is really for the 750 HP. If you feel like you need it and you want to play safer, movement speed, HP, always nice. But like if you don't need it and you don't want to be above like 10,000 HP and you can grind safely, or your class has a lot of iframes, defensives and everything, just the usual, you know, aside from your harmony, you're going to probably want to use courage or deep sea, or if you can somehow get your hands on the new perfumes. These are essentially the same thing as these, but better. So aside from that, like, yeah, these just give more HP, slightly more AP, but they're also kind of expensive. So I would still recommend using the regular ones, but if you need the bigger ones, then use the upgraded ones as well. Gathering them is not too bad if you have them, and then gather the Capris Essence. It's not too bad. Rusalka Coral is the bottleneck for most people now, so I think if most people already have perfumes and you just upgrade through the Capris thing. So anyway, yeah, those are some tips I can give you to prepare for Edania, just like extra buffs and everything. And yeah, good luck with your enhancing, good luck with your gear upgrades. Would I really recommend the Khan's Heart? You know, like if you care about min-maxing for the next month, sure. But like I guarantee you 1 month from now with this one, it's gonna be so irrelevant. So if you really need the +2, yes. But aside from that, the Pearl Star is actually a 10 bill save from this one. So one of those things where it depends how much you want to min-max and get that advantage over other people, being able to push yourself into that next tier to do the other bosses. But that's all. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you need any help with gear or anything, you can drop in the comments, or I have a Discord where you can just post a screenshot and I'll point you in the right direction. So I'm out. See you guys later. Peace.